side-by-side coming down, and it's going to be Caleb Hall taking it. As if anything can top the first round of the championship at Daytona. The track has shrunk a little bit. It hasn't been used since 2004, but hello everyone. Welcome here to round number 2 of the Solstice ProLine Cup Series here in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, as we are getting ready for what should be a very interesting race. As it's Josh Mertz bringing you the call, as always, for High Voltage Media Productions today. Alongside me is Dylan Livingood, as we did a couple weeks ago. And Dylan, what about this track is making everyone spin out?
You know, it's just really, really slippery. They haven't run on this track since 2004, and the track surface is really, really worn. Takes a while to get the tire heat built up in the cars, so we should see a lot of slippery restarts, some guys spinning the tires, and it'll be interesting. It's definitely going to be a battle of attrition.
As today's format here in Nazareth, we go to the stage racing for the first time this season. This is a 100-lap race, which the first stage is 35 laps. The second stage to close this race out is 65 laps. As the drivers running through happy hour right now at the moment, will go through the points standings entering round number 2. They do reflect last week's results, but we will still take a look at them anyways, as Jake Poulin, winner of the race in Daytona, is in the points lead, locked into the playoffs for the ProLine Cup Series. Then it's Chad Mikas, Michael Frisch, Kevin Dwight, and Matt Muir, your top 5. As Gabe Herschel, Lambert, Mike Fallon, Corey Spencer, Jonathan Taylor, Cole DeRozier, and Dylan Poteet are, if the playoffs were after one race, would be challenging for the championship.
And drivers on the bobble, Cosmin Yaneshu, Arnold Columbia, Joey Bailey, and Andrew Schwartz.
And as we take a look at the qualifying results here, the only car in the 26.7 bracket, Jonathan Taylor on pole here in Nazareth. Alongside him will be Michael Frisch in the 58. Joey Bailey and Dylan Schwallenberg on the second row of the grid. Schwallenberg was incredibly fast in practice in that 98 car. Chad Mikas and Timmy Pacioli in row 3. Brandon Lambert, Keith Sherman in row 4, as Dylan Smith and Cody Erdman round out the top 10.
Yeah, and Schwallenberg putting on an incredible run, and Joey Bailey last week with that really strong performance, so far top of the charts in happy hour. Watch for him all race. Chad Michaels spent a lot of time in practice yesterday, really getting a feel for the car, getting a feel for the track. He got to the track yesterday, and he's like, I have no idea how the bleep to drive this thing. And he's top of the charts for, you know, practice and qualifying, and he's third right now in happy hour.
As Jake Poulin, last week's winner, in 11th, Chris Wetz, Corey Spencer, Cole DeRozier, Andrew Schwartz, William Goss, Matt Wishart, and Kyle Riley. So it looks like we have about 18 cars getting ready to do battle here in Nazareth. Certainly a big field. We always know that the restrictor plate tracks pull a huge crowd, and it's good to see that Solstice can maintain this momentum going into a non-restrictor plate track.
Yeah, you know, it's just a little bit different driving style than other leagues out there, and a lot of drivers really like the driving style and really like the format that Solstice has to offer. So definitely that's the reason why we're seeing 18 cars into the second week at a 1 mile really tricky track.
And a couple of things that I've noticed during practice when we were here yesterday and earlier on in the day, they are running a new aerodynamic package, and that might be the cause, along with the heavy front brake that they're running. That might be why the cars are losing it throughout the corners.
Yeah, and they really tried to get as much rear downforce in the car as they could. They did a lot of setup work to try to get these cars to handle and behave like they're supposed to, but they still wanted to make it a little bit difficult, wanted to make the drivers work for it, for sure. So we'll see the cream of the crop rise to the top.
And one of the things that we noticed, once the tires wear, we will definitely have some grip. But you got to imagine, of course, the green racetrack, not a lot of grip in the tires. It's just certainly going to be interesting to see all night long here in Nazareth. And certainly we hope you can join us throughout the season, as just a couple weeks ahead as we go to Chicagoland, Miachovo, Homestead, Five Flags, Charlotte, Darlington, New Hampshire, the Colorado Motorplex, and Indianapolis. That looks like a 12-round regular season, as Talladega, the first round of the playoffs, will put us then to Richmond, Mid-Ohio, and Michigan. And to close out the season in the middle of June, Rockingham, Jukasa, and Atlanta. Atlanta, the long time, if I am correct, the season finale for Solstice.
To your cars.
As drivers get in the call to get to their race cars, get strapped in, and get ready to go 100 laps around here.
As like we had mentioned, on pole, Jonathan Taylor, then it's Michael Frisch. Row 2, Joey Bailey and Dylan Schwallenberg. Row 3, Micus and Pacioli. Lambert, Sherman, Smith, Erdman, Poulin, Wetz, Spencer, DeRozier, Schwartz, Goss, Wishart, and Kyle Riley. As this is extremely exciting to see racing back at the Nazareth Speedway. This is the first time since season 17 that they have raced here.
Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting, too, because they're going to have to make sure on
Gentlemen,
these restarts,
start your
as we get the call to fire the machines up,
Settle in.
these guys are really going to have to battle hard on these restarts and make sure they can get as much track position as they can, get down to that bottom groove, because this is really a one-groove racetrack, and that's what we saw in Season 17.
So the Arby's Camaro and the 3M Mustang will lead us through turns 3 and 4. As looks like connection issues with Taylor, green flag in Nazareth, and Frisch takes the command of the field. As not a good start for Jonathan Taylor. Bailey looks to the inside of Schwallenberg in turn 2. Frisch leads Bailey, then Schwallenberg, Micus, and Pacioli the top 5. Poulin slides it off of turn 2. DeRozier with Kyle Riley as Jonathan Taylor back on track in the 7, but not a good day, as credited with leading the first lap as Michael Frisch as he loses it in the kink.
Yeah, we're seeing drivers struggle already. I saw a lot of drivers in the back there get really loose on the restart, spun the tires because they kind of stacked up back there, and that's why we see the field so strung out right now.
And one around on the wall, it's Frisch, the pole man, and into the wall goes the 58. I'm not sure if there's going to be a caution, nothing from race control yet, but the front row is now in the back of the field.
Yeah, and that's a tough break for him.
As Bailey leads us off of turn number 2, the Amoco Challenger ahead of Dylan Schwallenberg. Schwallenberg, one of the fastest cars here. And Mike is sneaking to the picture in third with Timmy Pacioli and Brandon Lambert in the top 5.
Yeah, and it's really kind of starting to sort out like practice did and qualifying. I mean, it's really how this track settles in.
As single file, everyone through turns 1 and 2. Jonathan Taylor, I believe, will get one of his laps back. He's 2 laps down in the 7, so not a good day for the pole man. He is on track ahead of Michael Frisch, but in the standings a couple laps down. As looks like Chris Wetz struggled in the 71 as well, as he is bringing up the tail end of the field.
Yeah, and luckily for these guys, they're going to get a little bit of a break. If we don't see a caution, since, I mean, we're so strung out. We've seen a couple of cars go around, but in case we don't see a caution, at least lap 35, these guys will get a chance to gather themselves back up for that stage break. So it's what a lot of these guys are racing for.
Fastest lap so far, it is Joey Bailey at a 26.764, Schwallenberg 26.792, and the 40 at Kyle Riley 26.793. I was just about to make a comment about how clean air is beneficial to these guys, but Kyle Riley is caught in traffic behind Jonathan Taylor, and he's ran the fastest lap.
Yeah, you know, when you have a little bit of draft, there's a little bit of straightaway here. You can definitely get a draft pull off the guy in front of you, and then, like Caleb mentioned in Daytona's broadcast last week, this really is kind of like a road course where you have to drive all the corners totally differently. So if you can get enough draft going down the back straightaway, and you hit your marks going into 3 and 4, maybe use a little bit of that newer asphalt once the tires break in, you can run a fast lap in draft.
Schwallenberg ran it up the hill in the 3rd and 4th corners. That allowed Mikus to close in, as at the start-finish line, Bailey had 3/4 of a second over Schwallenberg, and it looks like Mikus, I think, is quicker than the 98, last lap 27.308 to a 26.8, and now they're equal on lap time. So Schwallenberg gathered it up from that bobble, and he's ahead of Mikus.
Yeah, and this is really all about, at this point now, coming around to lap 10, just finding that rhythm, trying to inch ever closer to the guy in front of you, and then hope he slides up the racetrack like Mikus just did and get underneath him.
As Pacioli taking the fight to Mikus, Pacioli runs it onto the grass, and Lambert, champion back in 2012, looking to take the fight to Pacioli, but he can't do it. It's a car length gap between them. Joey Bailey loves this. He is pulled out to a second lead over Schwallenberg, and we mentioned, as caution is out here in Nazareth.
As problems maybe with wets?
Looks like the 71 of Chris Wetz, 3-time champion. Looks like he looped it in turn number 3, and that'll bring out our first caution of the day here on lap number 11, as he did have issues getting that car fired up in the 71, put him 4 laps down.
Yeah, tough break for him. He's never count Wetz out, though. He's one of those guys who, I mean, he can definitely make up 4 laps within the span of a race. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at what brought out that caution. Let's take a look at that spin. As got up into the marbles, up in the loose stuff up top, and just went right around.
As everyone looks like they're pitting here on lap number 11. As it's going to be interesting to see. It looks like there's a little bit of a accordion effect on pit lane entry. Erdman gets hit by Dylan Smith. Taylor hits Smith. Nothing too catastrophic, just little bumps. We'll have to take a look and see how everyone will pit. And pit road, extremely bumpy. Something that I've noticed throughout practice.
Yeah, I mean, we get a good shot of it there, kind of looking down. It's almost like bacon. That's the terminology, I believe. That's the scientific term.
And Schwallenberg gets out of the pit lane ahead of Bailey. Something's wrong with the 51 crew. And the race leader, granted it's early, but the race leader still stuck on pit lane.
Yeah, not sure what's going on with him. Sometimes they just got to do what they got to do. I mean, we see Lambert still on track, Sherman still on track, Dylan Smith.
A lot of these guys still on track, or on pit lane.
Not sure if some of these guys might have got some right side damage potentially. It's really, really odd how there's 2 groups leaving pit road here. Josh, I'm not sure what the reasoning for that could be.
A lot of these guys calling for black flags, race control, assessing it in a weird manner. As Pacioli, Wallenberg, Jonathan Taylor We'll try and get a report on what's going on. Sherman, as I catch it out of the window of the commentary box, he has hit the wall in turn 1, I believe, or turn 3.
Oh my goodness, what's going on there?
And damage on the right-hand side of the Jiffy Lube Camaro, and he has to go down pit lane again.
I think he was trying to get to pit road, and
as he rode the wall, he entered turn 3, got loose, hit the wall, and the thing that reminds me of what just happened, he did the same thing, of course unintentionally, if we remember way back in Negus in Nassau Rallycross, when he rode the dirt wall.
No doubt, this is bizarre. He just ramps it up on the right side, and then he goes, whoa there, I guess I gotta bring it down pit road now. Loops it back around.
Schwallenberg and Pacioli on the front row of the grid. Then it's Mikus with Erdman, and Frisch rounds out the top 5. We will go back green here in Nazareth, inching closer to the stage break. Off of turn number 4. Big gap for Schwallenberg over Mikus. Not sure what's going on here. Unless they are not going green. No green. They did double file, but no green. As Damage got beat out of the 15, he is in 18th spot. All cars are on the lead lap. Everyone was given their lap back, so all cars still on the lead lap. As of course, what is an HVMP broadcast of Solstice without mentioning Nassau Rallycross? Round number 1 in Sonoma was on Tuesday. Expect the broadcast in just a couple days once our production team finishes that up. But round number 2 in Phoenix, 8 p.m. Eastern. If you'd like to join.
As hats off to ASN, our sister network.
As ASN and HVMP, of course, been friends for quite some time, but joining forces in 2019 to produce some of the best coverage of sim racing. As it looks like we're going to be going green this time, Schwallenberg and Pacioli on the front row of the grid. Field bunching up, 9 rows of 2, 41 miles an hour. According to telemetry, going back green here on lap number 15, green flag. Schwallenberg gets a great jump over Pacioli, who looks like he spun his tires. Side by side with Mikus. He's going to be into turn number 1. Mikus hit the curb, and Erdman side by side with the 25. Pacioli slides it in the 86.
Yeah,
and wide with Smith, Lambert, and Goss.
It is just so tricky to get down into that turn 1 cleanly. As we see,
the wall is Erdman.
It's really hard to get the first lap in cleanly here until those tires warm. I can't say how crucial tire heat is.
Schwallenberg and Pacioli, huge gap over Mikus, half a second. Then it's Frisch, Wishart, and Joey Bailey, top 6.
Yeah, and Josh, we saw a lot of those guys. What they tried to do is they tried to anticipate and jump on the outside, and they spun the tires as a result.
As Spencer got a little loose there on the outside, and it put him nearly around. Speaking of him and Sherman nearly make contact around 15th near the back of the field. And still trying to figure out what happened to Joey Bailey. Bailey's one of the fastest cars here, and he's back in the 5th position. Schwallenberg continues to lead over Pacioli.
And Pacioli keeps trying to peek down to that inside. He's trying to see if he can fill that left side mirror of Schwallenberg going into turn 3 and 4, but Schwallenberg right now not phased at all.
As they have half a second over Mikus, and then it's another half a second back to Frisch, and then a quarter of a second back to Bailey. So 1.25 seconds separates the top 5. According to last laps, top 2 are under a blanket. Mikus was faster than both of them at a 26.692. Pacioli got loose in turn number 2. So the man from Chicago, Mikus, is flying in the big evil Chevrolet.
Yeah, Mike. Oh, as there's a car hitting the inside wall in the backstretch.
Dylan Smith, car number 1. Around he goes, caution is out on lap number 19.
I was just about ready to say, it seems like Maiko's got his tires broken in just a little bit better than, the top two did, and he was reeling them in. That's why he was putting down those blistering fast laps.
I was trying to see what happened to Dylan Smith. Looked like the same thing essentially what happened to Wetz as he clipped the curb, exiting turn 2 ever so slightly, and looped it in car number 1. That's not the first time. We remember, and again, bringing the NASA analogy into it, a couple of tracks that they used to run, you'd hit the curb and you'd lose it. So there's not a lot of grip on those curbs. It's much less than the asphalt.
Yeah, there's really a lot of dirt on there. They're really, really slippery, really dirty. You don't want to get involved with that at all.
As Schwallenberg leads the field down pit lane. It's interesting to see. Granted, my oval racing experience isn't the greatest, but I'd like to know, I mean, as an oval driver yourself, why are these guys taking new tires when new tires don't have as much grip as worn-in tires?
I mean, because, well, it's not about the wear, it's about the tire heat. So what the tires are doing is the tires are actually wearing, I mean, moderately. They're not wearing a whole lot, but they're wearing moderately. And it just takes a couple of laps to build up heat in the tires, to break that glaze off the tires, and get the tire...
Pacioli beats Schwallenberg, Lambert beats Schwallenberg, and Mike is getting held on pit lane, so I'm guaranteeing that's what the problem is, along with Bailey. I don't know if there's a black flag penalty going on, or if there's something else that we don't know about, but again, a trio, much more than a trio, a plethora of cars held on pit lane.
Yeah, it seems to be the Bermuda Triangle down there on pit road. Not really sure what's going on there. We did say that it was geologically odd. Maybe there's something else going on down there on pit road.
Just like Negus used to be in the NASA Rallycross Challenge. Second time that we've heard that. Poulin gets a black flag for speeding on pit lane. Pacioli, Lambert, Schwallenberg, Frisch, and Taylor. Your top 5 here in Nazareth. As Dylan Smith penalized for speeding as well. Wetz gets moved to 6th in the 71. Sherman, after crashing on the caution lap, is in 8th. And Mikas cycles back to 10th with Joey Bailey in 11th. I'm going to suspect later on in this race that we're going to see some of these guys take no tires to get this track position.
Yeah, it's really going to be interesting because we have a lot of fast cars back there. They might be playing a little bit of strategy into the stage break too, because we have the 52 of Erdman back in 13th. We have the 21 of Poulin right behind him in 14th. A lot of fast cars back there that are definitely going to have to do something to get in a position to get back up front.
As doubling up, don't think we're going green this time. But Pacioli and Lambert will lead the field with Schwallenberg and Frisch, the top 4. As no green this time, looks like we're doubling them up to go green on lap number 24.
So we got the 86-46 up front. Josh, who's your pick to get to the bottom first on this restart?
Out of these top 2, I mean, it just depends on how you get the restart. I mean, we know Lambert has plenty of talent across all sim racing disciplines. If he can get the jump on Pacioli, you just have to close it down to turn 1. I mean, I would pick Lambert, but I'm also on the fence of I don't know. It just whoever takes the jump on the start.
It's going to be interesting. Inside 86, Schwallenberg, Jonathan Taylor, they're all aggressive. Same with Frisch and Wetz on the outside behind Lambert. So we hand it off to Pacioli for the restart.
Pacioli and Lambert, green flag in Nazareth, lap 24. On the curve with Schwallenberg with Frisch, and Pacioli will beat Lambert to turn 1. We got to be careful with Frisch on the outside. 3 wide with Taylor, Schwallenberg, and Wetz. Wetz peeked on the outside, thought better of it. Sherman nearly makes contact with Taylor as Kyle Riley in the 40 hits the wall in the back of the shot. Then it's Erdman battling with him. Wetz way outside. Micus peeks to the middle, and he gets turned by Riley. Nearly could save for the man from Chicago.
Wow, that was a huge save by Micos. Could have been a lot worse for him. He's only going to lose about 2 car lengths.
As Frisch gets into the second spot, splitting the 86 and the 46. The cars with seemingly very similar number fonts, but they're not teammates at all. Schwallenberg battling with Taylor. Bailey battling with Sherman. Taylor slides it in turn 3 underneath Schwallenberg, loses it nearly 3 wide. And the 7 gets passed just like he got left out to dry at a plate track.
Oh, and Erdman hard into the wall. It's going to stack up those guys a little bit.
As Erdman battling Bailey, 52 and 51. This is for 6th and 7th. As the top 3 breaking away from Schwallenberg. Sherman in 5th. Side by side was Smith, Dylan Smith with Wetz. He got by him. As once again, Riley with Micus. Side by side in the kink.
Wow, that was some pretty intense racing there, and then finally we got things settled down. Only a few laps before that stage break, though.
And remember, that stage break is on lap number 35. So as soon as we come to take that lap, there will be a caution. Pacioli, the lead, loses it in the kink, and he gets passed, and he's back to 4th. He's on the access road. He's going to lose a lot more spots than this. Battling on the exit of the access road. I'm not sure. I don't think that'll be a penalty, but he gets passed by Sherman. Erdman, Bailey battling now with Taylor, and he drops to 8th. Very weird to see the lack of downforce in the kink like that.
Yeah, and the kink's been really kicking people all week, all day.
As Frisch now leads. Lambert was faster than him by 1/10 of a second, and Schwallenberg was faster than both of them by 2/10 of a second. So the 98, certainly very quick. Peek to the inside of Lambert, couldn't make anything happen as we begin lap number 30. And one of the dark horses, I only say dark horse because the last couple pit stops he has been affected by, Joey Bailey. Sitting in 5th, one of the fastest cars, certainly turned a lot of heads at Daytona. And if everything can go his way, I just have a feeling about the 51 today.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I mean, we were talking about having these guys have to throw a little bit of strategy to get back up there. Joey Bailey, Cody Erdman, remember, they restarted, what, 11th and 13th, and now they're 5th and 6th right now, so they didn't have to pull anything. It's funny how the field kind of inverted like that by itself.
And Schwallenberg, last lap was a 10 slower than the top 2, but he does look to the inside of Lambert. Thought better of it again. Getting close to the stage break here in Nazareth. Remember, at least I do believe bonus points are awarded, correct me if I'm wrong, to the drivers at the end of the stage.
As we do, and we can, we'll go over that as soon as we catch the stage, but we don't want to have you guys miss this action here. Getting ready to come down to it.
It's Frisch. 3 to go in stage 1. Quarter of a second lead, actually half of a second once our monitors refreshed. He's 0.3 of a second faster than Lambert, but he's not the fastest man on the circuit. Fastest man on the circuit, according to lap times, is still Joey Bailey at a 5.85, 26.585, but that was a couple laps ago. The last lap that Frisch ran was the fastest lap that he has ran with 2 to go in the stage.
And that is worth noting, and we're getting to that point in the green flag run where those tires start breaking in, and unfortunately we're going to have to wind things down for a stage break caution here, but at least that'll give drivers a little bit of confidence going into this longer 65 lap stage.
As white flag for stage 1. As Frisch rounds turn 4, he takes that flag as we begin the final lap in stage 1. So the 3M Mustang outside pole sitter Coming to lap Cole DeRozier in the 23. I don't think he's going to get DeRozier, though, so we will still have all cars on the lead lap. And Schwallenberg getting close to Lambert, but I don't think they're going to do anything with it, as the green and white tablecloth for Michael Frisch at the end of stage 1.
And congrats to him. And yeah, while we got a second here, we'll briefly go over that point structure. So again, winner gets 30 race points. Stage points are awarded. First place gets 5, and it just goes on 1 down through 5th. 5th place getting 1. Now at the end of the race, you get playoff points. If you finish in the top 3, first place gets 5, second with 3, third place with 1, and if you get a stage win, you also get a playoff point. So that's a crucial stage win there for Michael Frisch.
As let's pull in our stage 1 winner, Michael Frisch, and see what he has to say. As Michael Frisch, it's Josh Mertz up in the HVMP commentary box. What do you think about your first stage here in Nazareth?
It's pretty good. We got it down, but a little shaky start there, as you've seen. Got up into, I think that was turn 3, backed it in there, but back in the lead now. Gonna try to hold it at least, but car's really on the edge, loose. Feels like a dirt track out here, man.
As I was gonna mention, I mean, cars are slipping and sliding everywhere. How difficult is it to hang on?
To be fast, to be up here and competitive, it's like over 10. It's really loose going in and it's loose off. It's just loose everywhere and it's just hard to hold on to.
As Dylan, you got anything to add on there?
I don't want to disturb this round of pit stops here. We'll go ahead and let him go. Best of luck to you.
Absolutely. Good luck in the second stage.
Appreciate you guys.
And we just have to keep an eye on what happens in pit lane. As if Frisch gets held up in pit lane, I want to say that there's something going on in the pit lane. He stops very short in his box. That's going to hurt Bailey in the 51. Looks like tires are on the right side of these cars. Crew's swinging over to the left-hand side, and the jacks are going to get dropped, and we'll see who leads us exiting pit lane. Frisch will beat Schwallenberg, Lambert, and it is Taylor and Bailey top 5.
So impressive for your stage winner. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take a quick commercial break, but we're going to go side by side so you don't miss any of the action. We'll be right back.
Yeah, we're green. As back green here in Nazareth, Frisch with a huge gap over Lambert, Wallenberg and Bailey battling for third, and Bailey gets by him, so the 51 sneaks into the third spot. Then it's Jonathan Taylor in fifth, Erdman, Mikas, Pacioli, Smith, and Andrew Schwartz. As we heard before the break, very tricky conditions.
Oh, it's trouble in the back. The 32 of Matt Wishart. That target machine.
Caution's out right after the restart. And the number one rule in motorsport is not to touch your teammate. And this is just going off of pure speculation, but the target cars, I'm assuming, are teammates, and they wreck each other in turn 2.
As we'll take a look here. Looks like Wisher just checks up a little bit, gets a little bit loose. And Kyle Riley just gets into him. Just nowhere to go.
As Frisch, Lambert, Bailey, Schwallenberg, and Taylor, top 5. Pits are open, and Frisch, late dive into the pit lane.
Yeah, these guys are allowed to fake each other and juke each other out. They, however, are not allowed to touch the grass going into pit road. They were very, very strict about that and very stern about that in the drivers' meeting. They said if you touch the grass at all, you will get black flags. So you'll see some of these guys have to drop to the rear as a result of these black flags.
As a couple of the cars that have stayed out here on lap 43, we got Lambert, Joey Bailey, Dylan Schwallenberg, Cody Erdman, Keith Sherman, Timmy Pacioli, Chad Mikas. So about 8 cars, 7 cars staying out here in Nazareth. We do have all 18 cars still running, still on track, and still on the lead lap. As Jake Poulin beats the brigade out of the pit lane, Frisch, then Smith, Schwartz, and William Goss. As this is just another thing that I thought of. How we mentioned that this track drives like a road course. And I'm going to assume if we can get green flag running to where we have to pit, will a lot of these guys, I think of Erdman and Lambert as an example. Again, another NASA reference. But I think of those two because when you're under green and you have to push extremely hard, just like a road course on the pit exit and pit entry, I think that is a way you can make up a lot of time.
Yeah, this is going to be huge. I mean, it's really about pushing every little bit out of the car and just being as alert as you can behind the steering wheel and paying attention to what the other guys are doing to try to get an advantage over other guys. Pit road is a good place to make up time, and green flag pit stops. If we get that, get green flag pit stops, it's going to matter that the whole timed lap, they're in and they're out, exactly just like a road course style race. So it'll be interesting.
The reason why I brought up the NASA reference is contact under caution.
Oh, and Erdman upside down.
And Erdman goes over in the 52.
Wow, that was...
Looks like Poulin's going to help him over.
This is one of the strangest things I've ever seen.
I was just about to mention how Lambert and Erdman have experience from the NASA days at Croft. But what happened is Erdman had a transponder issue, lagged out, contact with the 98 of Schwallenberg. They made contact when he came back, and that's what turned him. Obviously, we are still under caution. Pitting was Schwartz, Pacioli, Poulin, Dylan Smith, Jonathan Taylor, Kyle Riley, and of course Erdman in the 52. Very strange incident for the Area 52 Ford.
As we see him lag out right there, and then all of a sudden he comes back and just gets the tires lifted up a little bit, and they dig in and up and over. But
again, like I mentioned, these guys, the few guys that ran in the NASA Series with Croft, we remember how crazy those pit entries are when you go full throttle until the commitment line. And that's something that we see in all forms of road racing, where you can make up so much time on pit in. Speaking of pitting, Lambert and Schwallenberg are the only two pit again. Maybe they suspect that something is going to go down at the front of the field on the restart.
You know, and that's really interesting, and I can think back to my early days, and Josh, you know this race very well, where at Berlin, where I pit with one to go, as we're doing right now, and Schwallenberg's doing, and I ended up beating all the other guys in fuel strategy because I was able to lap the guys in safes. So maybe some strategy playing out here with Lambert and Schwallenberg. Be interesting.
As that was 2012 Insomniac Racing Tour at the Berlin Raceway. So certainly that strategy is a valid one as we come nearly to halfway. We're going to take the restart lap 47 here at Nazareth.
Erdman dropping back for causing that incident. Under the pacing.
Bailey back to the front with Micah, Sherman, Frisch, and Goss. Top 5. Green flag again here at Nazareth. As once you get pinched to the curb in the kink, there's really nothing you can do. As Sherman got pinched to the curb, got passed by Frisch, and we noticed that Bailey and Micah immediately got single file. 3 wide with Spencer, Wetz, and Wishart nearly, as Pacioli bump drafting the 11 down the backstretch. Erdman hits the 86, into the wall goes both of them, 4 cars into the wall, along with Dylan Smith, and it looks like that might be a caution again here on lap number 47.
Man, that started coming off of turn 2. I thought we were gonna save it, but I thought we were gonna wreck it, save it, wreck it, save it, wreck it, save it, and then all of a sudden we wrecked it and we junked it.
4 cars all slid in a choreographed dance into the wall and couldn't save it.
And our camera team doing an amazing job of catching all of that. Let's see what causes the initial stack up coming off of turn 2, as this happened a little bit farther up in the field than I believe it's going to be the 32 of Matt Wishart again, maybe? No, Wetz forcing it 3 wide. Oh, here we go. Coming into turn 3. Doesn't look like too many cars got torn out, though, Josh.
It doesn't look like anyone really got torn up, aside from everyone just spinning into everyone in light taps. But we'll certainly see on pit lane as these Solstice crews do a great job at repairing the damage on these race cars. Bailey leads Micah's, Frisch, Sherman, and Goss. Sherman lost the 3rd spot to Frisch on the restart. Bailey does not pit. Top 3 don't pit. Sherman, Goss, Taylor, Schwallenberg, Spencer, Erdman, Schwartz, DeRozier, Riley, Pacioli, and Dylan Smith. So it looks like I'd say half the field stayed out, half the field pitted.
And I love how we got a little bit of strategy playing out here too. Some of these guys aren't afraid to stay out here and take a gamble on those scuffed tires.
As we take crossed flags the next time around, we're on lap number 50 of 100. Glad you can join us here on HVMP live in Nazareth. Once again, Josh Mertz alongside Dylan Livingood bringing you the call, as we hope to bring this all season long to you. And certainly flipping and sliding here at the track at Nazareth. Very exciting to see.
Yeah, and I want to send my best wishes out right now to Caleb Paul. Sick with the flu. Unfortunate to hear that. That's why he's not able to join us. He's at home. Hopefully he's watching the broadcast, catching up on his league, as he is the league founder for Solstice.
As Brigade that exited the pit lane, Dylan Smith leads Schwallenberg, Spencer Erdman, and Sherman held on pit lane, so it looks like there might be some damage on the 15. We take cross flags under caution here in Nazareth. Certainly been an exciting race, as the first half a little messy. Hopefully the second half a little bit cleaner. We get a decent green flag run-in here in Pennsylvania, as this track used to be the host of the Indy Racing League back in those days when it was called that. Now it's the NTT IndyCar Series, and it used to be host to the NASCAR Xfinity Series back in 2004. And I do believe that the track was dormant for quite some time. Solstice bought it, ramped it up, and we're back at one of the most unique tracks in North America.
Yeah, as you can see that little bit of new asphalt down there, drivers really, they're reporting it's really not helping them that much, but once they get too much higher off of it, it's just, there's absolutely no grip. It's like driving on ice. So...
hitting is Schwartz with Dylan Smith. Only 2 before we go back green. Actually make that 3, I believe. No, only 2 cars, my mistake. Amoco Challenger and the Hooters Camaro lead a Mustang, a Challenger, Mustang, Camaro. Interestingly, the first Toyota is Lambert in 7th. So a good mix of manufacturers here in Solstice ProLine. Hopefully we don't have that issue again. Looks like everyone's got a decent and stable connection. Transponder is not failing us here, as Bailey will lead Micus and restart on lap number 53. Off of turn 4. Bunching them up. Bailey, Micus, Frisch, Fisher, and Wett's green flag. Top 2, front row, get a great start. Wett's on the curb, all 4s, nearly lost it. Side by side with Poulin. He is still side by side with the 21 Daytona's winner, as Jonathan Taylor gets squeezed nearly between Poulin and Lambert and put the 7 down to the inside line. Back to the front of the field. Frisch nearly makes contact with the 25 of Micus, as Bailey, 2-3 car length lead as we begin lap 54.
yeah, it's a little bit of a hornet's nest back here.
As Wett's in the kink, slides it in front of the middle of the field, looped it, caution is out. And I thought he had it saved, and I thought we didn't need a caution, but he spun it again.
I did too, and I was just about ready to mention the hornet's nest back there for about 5th or 6th, and Wett's got stung right there, going through the kink.
He didn't even get hit. He was just 2 tires on the old asphalt. The right side's on the old asphalt, left side's on the new asphalt. And it's so slippery on that asphalt. We're back under yellow.
As I don't know if you saw there, but Wett's was celebrating like he won the race there. Burning it down in turn 1.
As Wett certainly has better luck here in Solstice than he did in NASA Rallycross. And once again, one more shameless plug in the NASA Rallycross Challenge, round 1 in Sonoma. Should be on our on-demand page about Saturday or so, as we work to get a defined schedule for that, so we apologize in advance for that. But round 2, if you'd like to join, on Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
As Josh, I believe there was a little bit of contact there. No, it looked like there might have been contact, but Wett's was already around by the time Taylor got into him.
As Taylor and Wett's did make contact, but Wett's lost it all on his own. See who pits. Bailey and Micus, Frisch, Wishart, all of the top guys are staying out. That's Poulin with Taylor, Schwallenberg, Spencer, Goss, DeRozier, Dylan Smith, Andrew Schwartz, Kyle Riley, and Wett. So once again, it looks like a 50-50 split with the cars that are pitting. These pit boxes are incredibly short. They're some of the shortest that I've seen on an oval track.
Yeah, and it's just due to the shape of the front stretch here. It's not like your typical tri-oval, and with it only being a mile, you got to cram as as much real estate in there as he can for these guys to pit.
Poulin leads the field out of the pit lane as the Lucas Oil Camaro locked into the ProLine playoffs after that win in Daytona. And we have mentioned it before. We're going to mention it again. I mean, what a race last week in Daytona. How crazy that finish was coming off a turn.
Yeah, and these guys are still kind of right in that adrenaline high from Daytona. Jake Poulin, doesn't matter what he does the rest of the season, he's locked in no matter what, which is, I mean, that's got to be a great feeling to be locked in the first race and know that you have a shot and you can play around with some different things and prepare yourself totally for the playoffs. So,
and I'm starting to think that Chris West, his team ran out of green paint because he ran through the grass, and that's probably how he painted his car green. I'm not sure what the man from Texas exactly had going on in the 71. Maybe there's a car issue, maybe after the contact, or maybe he, like I said, ran out of green paint.
Yeah, hard to say there. Car almost looks like it's all beat up. Looks like they almost got it out of the scrapyard.
As top 5 hasn't changed, but it's still Bailey, Michaelis, Frisch, Wishart, Lambert, and Pacioli in the 6th spot. So the Amoco Challenger will lead the Hooters Camaro off of turn 4 as we begin lap number 58 here at Nazareth. As they reach the Loctite restart zone, green flag. And another good start by Bailey. Frisch hanging there on the rear quarter panel of 25 of Michaelis. And we should expect some dive bombs very late in the race, but not yet, as Michaelis clears Frisch. Wishart contact nearly with Erdman in the 52. As Erdman battling with Pacioli. Wishart runs it wide in 3 and 4, way out of the groove. And Erdman nearly clobbers the 86 of Pacioli, and Wishart and Pacioli hit again.
Ooh, and they're still trying to negotiate some room here.
As the Hornet's Nest once again. Wishart on the outside getting passed by Erdman. Now he's falling victim to Schwallenberg as rear end tail happy out of turn 2. As Poulin battling with Sherman and Wetz. As I don't know if that's deliberate of the 32, but he is way near the wall. And this track does not have a lot of banking to support that line.
No, it's really an interesting line, but he's kind of making it work. Well, he drops back down to the bottom now. I think he's just waiting for things to settle down a little bit and finally find a place to slot in and find a groove.
As Bailey pulling away from Michaelis, half a second, last lap on timing and scoring. Then it's 2 car lengths from Michaelis to Frisch, make it 3 as the monitor updates. It's 0.6 of a second. Then it's Frisch, Lambert, Pacioli, the top 5. Looks like everyone is calmed down for the moment. And once again, we still have all 18 cars. So despite all of these spins and crashes and surprisingly flips, everyone's still in the race.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, what we might be seeing with Wishart is he's back up to the high side again as Taylor's going to try to take advantage of it. I think we might see a little bit of the aero being compromised on a few of these cars, and those who have gone upside down like Erdman and those who have tapped the wall like Wishart. And I think that's why they're struggling so much, getting so tail happy off the corner. I think if you can keep the fenders straight on the car and keep it off the wall, it's going to help your aerodynamics on the car immensely.
As Wishart battling with Poulin, car length between them, but the battle at the front has heated up. Michaelis was 0.3 of a second faster than Bailey last lap. It went from 0.6 of a second down to nothing. It's a car length gap between them as we begin lap number 64 here through turns 3 and 4.
And Chad's getting ready to size him up, see where he can pass him. He's going to try to just ride in his coattails right now and see where he can make his move.
Lap times are identical. Lambert 0.2 of a second faster than them. Frisch battling with Pacioli. And again, with this point system, just like the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series and all those 3 series, you win, you're in. That's why these guys push so hard, take weird strategies, because if you cross the line first, you're into the playoffs. And I think my skepticism at the beginning when NASCAR introduced that was kind of like, what are you guys doing? This is kind of weird. But after 5 years of this format,
yeah,
I
it finally
love it.
gives you something to...
As nearly contact between them.
Yeah, as it finally gives them something to race for. I mean, these guys really want to push hard to get it. And you see Lambert's loving this right now. He's just waiting for these guys to make a mistake.
And if these three mess up, Pacioli, Frisch, and Schwallenberg are going to catch these guys. Pacioli hit the grass exiting 4, got passed by Frisch and Schwallenberg as Bailey car length between him and Mikas.
Do you think Bailey might have been backing him up to the 46 of Lambert?
I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I could see that, but I also could think, why would you back somebody up and do that? Again, I bring so many rallycross equations here to the table, but it's not like when you have a joker lap, it's not like you're trying to mess up somebody's strategy. You're all running the same track. And Lambert, when they were battling, was 0.3 of a second faster than these guys. There's no gap between them.
Yeah, but what he could be trying to do is he might be trying to get the 25 of Maikos into the clutches of Lambert and force Lambert to try to get around Maikos as he pulls away. So, you know, it's hard to say.
As we take a gander through the back of the field, Erdman got by Frisch. Frisch is dropping like a rock in the 58. We had side-by-side battle. I believe it was Riley and Spencer, but that has calmed down. It's 2 seconds from Bailey to Schwallenberg in 4th, according to the last lap, but the top 3 are within half a second. Lambert looks like he got a much better run through turn 4 than Mikas did. As everything updates on the monitor, it's still half a second between the top 3.
Yeah, and these guys right now just playing mind games with each other.
As Lambert squirrely off of turn 2. And Bailey trying to hold on in the 51. Mikas had a terrible run through 3 and 4, and Lambert closed the gap. It has closed to 0.4 of a second between the top 3. Yes, there's 30 laps to go. That's a long time. You figure 30-second laps, 30 laps, that's a decent amount of time, but still, you want to get as far away from your competition as possible. Cole DeRozier, 18th. He will take it to the pit lane. Stay out of the way of the leaders. I'm not sure. DeRozier has had a off night in the 23. I believe there's been some steering issues on that car. So now, after 70 laps, we lose a car on the lead lap.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure what lap we went green, but this is quite a sizable green flag run. So, it's going to be interesting.
As Mikas, sorry to cut you off, Dylan. Mikas had a huge run through the corner. Not sure if there's a caution. We saw some smoke on the front straightaway. But if we listen to the scanner here, Joey Bailey is going to be pitting. So remember what I talked about. We're going to see if these guys can make something happen during green flag pit stops. Bailey with Mikas will lead us. Schwallenberg takes it to the pit lane as well. And if one of these guys spins, or if their competition spins, that's going to change a lot of things. Lambert leads on lap 72.
Yeah, as this totally shakes things up completely. The field's going to get even more strung out. We're going to see who's going to...
As Erdman, after flipping, is in second. That's not the first time that he flipped and he somehow towards the front. Caution is out, it looks like. And just as like I mentioned, caution flies. Jonathan Taylor looped it in the 7.
Oh, man.
And this benefits the guys that pitted. At least I believe it does.
It should, yeah. This will definitely benefit the guys who pitted. So, our leaders are actually they're gonna be able to maintain their spot, and they don't even have to break a sweat here. Well, that's kind of nice for them. Makes it easy.
As I was gonna mention how Erdman is running well after flipping. It wasn't in the final, so that really doesn't matter, but it's not the first time this week that he rolled it, and he's still doing well. I'm just going to leave it at that. We're going to have to see how the strategy unravels now, as Mikas, according to timing and scoring, 16th. But everybody from Lambert Erdman, Frisch, Patrioli, everybody down pit lane. Dylan Smith is going to rotate into the race lead.
Oh, it was a little bit more than just Taylor looping it around. It was hard contact with Poulin as well. So last week's winner getting caught up in this incident with Taylor late in the race.
But again, that's the benefit of being locked into the playoffs. Not saying you want to intentionally crash, but if something happens, you don't have to worry.
Cushion's always nice.
As these four have the pin to the grenade as they pitted before the caution came out. Dylan Smith, Joey Bailey, Dylan Schwallenberg, and Chad Mikas. As Lambert leads the brigade out of the pit lane, he will restart in 5th, Erdman 6th.
So we'll do it all again here in just a few moments.
As running order, as we come to the last quarter of the race, is Dylan Smith pits.
Look.
From the lead, I believe. Our monitors haven't updated yet, but the one car takes it down pit lane.
40 car also taking it to the pit lane of Kyle Riley.
As I stand corrected, it looks like our monitors are incorrect. Dylan Smith, I believe, is off the lead lap in car number 1, along with Cole DeRozier. But that's the one thing about our technology here. In the middle of a pit cycle, everything goes out of whack. So the top 3 that pitted, Bailey, Schwallenberg, Mikas, will hold those top 3 spots.
Yeah, it's going to be...
And Smith, Riley leave the pit lane.
It's going to be interesting to see here, because Mikas is going to be restarting on the inside in the 3rd position. We haven't really seen him restart from there. We've typically seen him restart on the outside this race. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do with that prime track position down on the inside as the field settles out.
As Dylan Smith does tack on to the tail end of the field, Cole DeRozier still off the lead lap in the 23. We still have 17 cars. As we come to lap 77 in Nazareth, Bailey and Schwallenberg front row creating flag. The bottom row gets a good jump. Always, the pole sitter always gets a great jump. Schwallenberg files in behind into turn 1. Longtime friends Mikas and Lambert side by side, exiting turn number 2.
Yeah.
As the 46.
As there's a car around in the back, that's going to be Kyle Riley in the 40, and Michael Frisch is going to spin out and back it into the wall.
And one of the fastest cars here on our stage 1 winner into the fence in Nazareth, and we're under caution again.
As I was going to say before that caution came out, Maiko's got onto the rumble strip there, and that really hindered his restart.
And Frisch looped it all by himself. Wishart drifted it through turn 3. It looks like Smith and Riley, they just made contact exiting turn 2 as Taylor and Riley were side by side. Looks like the downforce got taken off of the 40. Smith got into him, and then Erdman hit his former Rallycross teammate. As it's a tale of 2 races here. It's a tale of wrecking on lap 1, or everyone goes for 30 laps.
Yeah, it's really been interesting to see how the runs have been forming so far this race.
As top 5. Poulin in 5th now. In the pit lane, it's Frisch, Dylan Smith, Cole DeRozier, Andrew Schwartz, William Goss, Kyle Riley. As winding it down the last 20 laps here in Nazareth. As Bailey, Schwallenberg, Mikas, Lambert, and Poulin.
And then right behind Poulin, don't count Pacioli out. Pacioli was strong earlier in the race. I expect to see Jonathan Taylor work his way up through on this restart, so...
As we're doubling them up again. Like, I have a very strong feeling that, not trying to jinx anybody, but I have a very strong feeling that one of these guys in front of the field, something's going to go wrong, and one of our guys that have played the strategy game in the middle of the back of the field is going to benefit from this.
Yeah, you know, this race has really been about being patient, and you can't let the guys in front of you get too far out, but you can let things sort out in front of you, get underneath those guys, and then once you get out in clean air, you can make up a lot of track time on the guys in front.
As we come off of turn number 4, we're going to begin lap number 81 here in Nazareth. Fans on their feet, getting ready for the last bit of this race. Green flag. Lambert, terrible restart, accordions him back from third on back on the top groove. No issues so far, but certainly the veteran had some issues getting back going. Spencer side by side with Sherman. They are battling for 6th. As Pacioli nearly gets hit by Jonathan Taylor. And the Hornet's Nest begins again.
Yeah, and this time we're seeing it still form around that, about 6th, 7th position there.
3 wide, Wishart, Wetz, Erdman. Wishart bumped it off the wall. Wetz thought better of it. Erdman hits the wall, gets hit by Wishart. And Erdman nearly into the wall in the 52. Side by side. For 5th, it looks like, Lambert with Poulin, as Sherman slides it, battling for 10th with Jonathan Taylor. Frisch trying to make his way back up after backing it into the wall.
Dylan Smith around in the back. I think he's going to get it gathered up and not bring out the caution here.
Joey Bailey and Dylan Schallenberg, 2 of the fastest cars here in Nazareth. Out in front of Mikas by 2 seconds. Schwallenberg loose in 4, and Joey Bailey, I think he's been the class of the field.
Yeah, it's really been really cool to see that Amco machine up front all day. He's if we had a hard charger award for guys who stayed up front all day and kept their nose clean, it would definitely be Joey Bailey.
There's a lot of damage on Timmy Pacioli's car on the 86 on the right hand side. We've been taking a look through the field here, along with Spencer, as they're battling. As Pacioli slides it, he saved it though. In the 86, he's going to lose some spots, put him back to 11th position. Into the wall went Spencer. Taylor looked to the inside. Spencer slides it in turn 1, gathered it back up. And there's going to be a point in time, Schwallenberg slid it off of turn 2, no caution, but he lost all that gap that he had on Joey Bailey, and Bailey has a huge margin over Chad Mikas now. It's 2 seconds.
As I think the only person who really had anything...
As Erdman slides it in the kink. He blinks out there in the 52, not sure where he is. He's into the wall in the 52. Luckily, no one else hit him. And the man from Wisconsin certainly struggling in the Jack Daniels Ford.
I think all grip has gone away in the racetrack at this point. Everyone's just sliding around totally loose.
Pacioli battling with Spencer. That is for 8th position. Put Erdman all the way back to 14th. The gap is now grown. It's 2.1
Oh, is Sherman into the back of Spencer?
Spencer's
going to go around and into the turn 2 wall.
And caution is out. And just as I began to mention the gap that Bailey had over the field, he loses it. And that has to be just, as a race car driver, and Dylan, you've ran more oval stuff than I have. When you have a big gap and the caution comes out, what goes through your mind?
You know, you really just have to take a deep breath and just put it out of your mind. You can't think about okay, we have a late race restart. The guys behind me are going to get me. No, you got to be thinking forward. You got to be looking at all that clean racetrack in your windshield, no cars in front of you, and say, I got this. I'm going to bring it home. For those guys in the back, they're licking their chops right now. They're ready to go on this next restart. We're going to restart with just under 10 to go, or 10 to go depending on how these pit stops sort out. So it's gonna get good.
As Bailey, Mikish, Schwallenberg, Lambert, Poulin gets turned by Taylor under the yellow flag. He throws it into reverse, and that's not the first time that we have seen that on this broadcast team. Not sure exactly what he's trying to accomplish. He's trying to do a J-turn. He does it. There was the vehicular gymnastics competition. Poulin would get the gold medal. He's got to be careful, though, on pit entry. And I'm sure that was allowed, but a very risky maneuver almost got into Pacioli. As Schwallenberg, Poulin, Pacioli, Wishart all pit. So the top three, definite top three. Frisch was in 7th, Schwartz in 12th, and Riley was 14th. So they all stay out.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. Schwallenberg pitting from the 2nd position. That's not really what I would do. I mean, Joey Bailey and Chad Michaels, Lambert, all those guys stayed out. Track position is key. It's a one-lane track. I don't know if he can make that up with the...
If he can be first out of the pit lane, though, which he is, that will put him in the 7th position, and he's going to restart crucially on the inside lane. And we've seen, even though that they're on the inside, the rulebook states if someone spins their tires, you can pass them. So Lambert spun his tires last time, and if he spins his tires, that's going to back up Schwartz. That might back up Riley. So Wallenberg can be swooped to the inside, take some fun.
It's going to take some bobbing and weaving, some ducking to get through there, but we'll see on this restart.
Like we're going to come to 10 laps to go. We're crossing lap 91 here in Nazareth. And we do have end to go right now. And what a great race this has been. I know we mentioned that a couple moments ago. Even with all this slipping and sliding, it's a very good race so far.
You know, there's really...
And especially with this new rules package.
And there's really so much action out there, we could barely get a sentence out before we get to jump to something else. I mean, there's guys slipping and sliding all over the place, passes side by side, racing action. I mean, it's got everything.
So, with 10 laps to go, coming to 9, it's going to be Joey Bailey, Chad Mikas, Brandon Lambert, Mike Frisch, Andrew Schwartz, your top 5. Then it's Kyle Riley, Dylan Schwallenberg, Jake Poulin, Matt Wishart, Cody Erdman, top 10. Can Bailey hold this lead like he has for the majority of the race? Green flag, 10 to go. And Lambert does it again. So Mikas gets a good jump. Frisch now back to 3rd.
Yeah, and all that did was allow the top 3 to slot in.
Can pull something off. Schwallenberg nearly slides and he hits and he gets turned. And Dylan Schwallenberg around from 6th. And Poulin around as well off of Erdman. We stack him up in turn 3. And that's the one thing you have to worry about when you pit. Around is Wishart in the 32 coming back to the yellow flag. And we had just mentioned how Schwallenberg, that was not a good idea.
Yeah, and that car took a really good look into the wall. Let's see if we can back this up, see what brought out that calamity. As we'll take you from high above here, coming off turn 2. Looks like Schwartz just got loose and that stacked those guys up just a little bit, and it was like squeezing a grape, and Schwallenberg ended up squirting out into the inside wall.
Poulin pits along with the V2 of Wishart. You still have all 18 cars still on track. Cole DeRozier has had some connection issues in car number 23 all evening long, but he's still on track. This is getting real dicey. We're closing up to the final couple of laps here in Nazareth.
And remember, the rulebook does state that the race will end under green.
You have the point of no return with 2 laps to go. And we are racing back to the checkered flag. So that's going to be crucial because none of these guys have actually raced back to the caution. And you have to think, at least in my mind, when you're racing, going back to the caution, you're so used to letting off and controlling how crazy these cars drive. It's a mental thing, trying to control these cars and get them back under green. Because you cannot sandbag. That was going over in the driver's meeting. It's a 100% give rule. You have to make sure you are full effort getting back to the yellow flag.
Yeah, and we saw that become an issue last week when those guys tried to line up and try to get that try to get the outside.
This puts Schwallenberg back to 17th, Dylan.
That's going to be a tough hole to crawl out of for Schwallenberg, even as fast as he is. And that's really a tough break for him because he was close to Joey Bailey on pace, and when you got a lot of cars in front of you, it doesn't matter how fast you are, it matters how good at passing you are. So
Bailey is the fastest man on the circuit. The only car in the 26.5 bracket. Then it's Schwallenberg, 26.681, and Micah's 26.692. Getting ready to go with 5 laps to go in Nazareth. Bailey and Micah's on the front row again. Green flag. We'll stack up this time, but Frisch gets a terrible restart. That puts Micah's back to second again. No battle that he has to worry about getting the inside. Side by side is Riley with Lambert, then it's Schwartz with Wetz, and Dylan Smith with Pacioli as the first 5 cars single file. The inside goes the 46. Bailey locked it up into turn 3, and Micah's side by side with the Amoco Dodge put him through to the lead. And the lead change coming to 4 laps to go.
And that's exactly what Micah's needed to be able to put Bailey behind him and try to fend him off for the rest of this race.
Off of turn number 2, Chad Micah's holding the lead. Car length, maybe car length and a half between him and Bailey. Bailey backs up the corner. Micah's runs it wide in turn 3, and Bailey tries to take the lead again. And side by side, 3 laps to go. Bailey leads us. Frisch, contact with Bailey and Micah's, and they're both into the wall, and contact with the one of Smith, and they're all wrecking in Nazareth. And Michael Frisch is the beneficiary of this with Lambert in second. I don't think there's a caution.
No, there is a caution. They are racing back to the line.
Frisch, as we take 2 to go, will lead us. And what a development. Every week, granted it's only been 2 weeks, but they've been long races. Every time, the fastest car, and something goes wrong. Andrew Schwartz all torn up in the 67. And Joey Bailey, heartbreak again for the 51.
Yes.
And I think we're stacking them up here. We are getting ready to just do 1 lap, guys.
Unless they bring it down the pit lane to fix transponders and subtract laps. No, we're going to go green. So for a 1-lap shootout.
It's like overtime. Green, white, checkered. It's going to be Frisch and Lambert. We're going to go 1 lap over regulation. Not yet. So the flagger is going to display the white flag. That means we are in regulation, or end of regulation. And just like NASCAR, 1 attempt at a green-white checker. Frisch leads Lambert. Dylan Smith, Wetz, Taylor. Taylor, the pole man, who has been a roller coaster of a race here tonight.
Yeah, it's really been a roller coaster for a lot of these guys. And
Wallenberg in 8th.
yeah, so that really shuffled the field up a lot. Maiko's dropped from, well, the lead. Went all the way back.
Getting ready for the green-white checkered in Nazareth. Frisch, Lambert, Smith, Wetz, and Taylor. Top 5. Green flag in Nazareth. Lambert spun his tires again. Dylan Smith in 2nd. They're going to be battling, and we know Michael Frisch is going to love this. Into turn number 1 and 2. Car length between Frisch and Dylan Smith. Lambert slides it into turn 2, but that doesn't help him. He's got a huge gap to make up, and Frisch is pulling away. The flagman's going to give us the checkered flag. We have to go 1 lap past that. Michael Frisch holds the lead as we take the white flag. And Dylan Smith trying to take the fight to him. Lambert roughing up the 7 of Taylor. He loops it in the middle of the field there, and around the pole man goes. Crazy in the middle of the pack. It's 3 wide with Poulin, Schwallenberg, Wishart, and Wetz. The battle for the race win off of turn 4. Frisch benefits and wins in Nazareth ahead of Dylan Smith. Lambert comes home in 3rd, then it's Poulin with Wishart.
Wow, and what an incredible race. What an incredible turn of events there.
A huge wreck again after the checkered flag, and Wetz has rolled it in the 71.
As it really doesn't matter much now, but...
As Sherman, Spencer, they all came together at the checkered flag. And the man who was turned around near the end of this race is the beneficiary. As while Frisch celebrates, I'd like to take a look and see what happened to Bailey and Mikus as they were battling to the death.
Yeah, and that was interesting. I don't know if they thought a caution was going to come out, because I did see a couple of cars get in trouble. One of them being the 40 Kyle Riley, and I believe there was another car that got in trouble in turn 3, and I thought they were racing back to the caution, but apparently they weren't, and they brought out the caution. So, well, yeah, let's go take a look at what exactly happened.
As looking on my monitor, Mikus ran it wide. Bailey took the advantage, but the rear end stepped out, entering the kink. It pushed Mikus out wide, took Bailey, who then got hit by Dylan Smith. And then Mikus is in front of the whole field sideways. Luckily, no one else was involved, but actually, I stand corrected. Andrew Swartz got that huge damage. He went roof first into the turn 1 concrete. As what a race here in Nazareth. As Dylan, how about we talk about our race winner?
That sounds like a good idea.
So, we had thought that you were down for the count after you looped it in turn 3. As Michael Frisch, what a race!
Yeah, that was fun to watch there, though. What I had going on in front of me.
I was gonna say, how was the view of the 2 other fastest cars wrecking each other in the closing laps?
I couldn't ask for a better view. I knew if I just waited and played my patience that they would end up doing something and race each other hard. And it was just a matter of time because everybody wanted to win up there. Because I think it was like 4 of us. But we knew passing in that kink section was like a no-go. If you tried, you were going to wreck. So I don't know
What are
what they
your,
were thinking.
real quick, what are your thoughts about and your reliefs about getting locked into the playoffs?
Great. I don't have to worry about all these scenarios now that Lambert tells us that's going on with the wild card races and all that. I don't got to worry about that. I'm winning, I'm in.
As Dylan, you got anything to
Yeah,
add?
we did see you win stage 1, and even though the first stage was a little bit shorter, it did kind of have the same rhythm as the second stage did. What did you do differently in the first stage that you did in the second stage?
I kind of learned out turns 3 and 4 a little bit better. I learned that if you kind of dirt tracked it on the high side, just kind of like gassed it on the high side, you can get a lot better run off of it and going back down into one. That would improve. It actually helps save your tires a lot. But I didn't really change anything up from my driving style from stage 1 till the end of the race. I just kind of ran my pace, and that was it.
And speaking of tires and pace, we did see you guys get that long green flag run, and tires were key. What did you do to kind of conserve and ride easy through there, to put yourself in a position with the as the laps were winding down?
To be honest, I couldn't tell you that. I was just actually running my hardest. Actually, I wasn't saving my tires at all. I was running like 120% there, abusing my tires. But the key to saving them, I think, tonight was just not locking them up into the heavy braking corners that we had. I think it was one of them into 3. We really had to brake hard and slow up the car there. Joey locked it up a couple times going in there. But that was really it. The only way you can save tires. I mean, turn 1 and going into 2 was kind of straight shoot. Then if you arced it right, everybody just kind of save tires, same amount really.
Well, congratulations. Fantastic run today.
Thank you.
As I think that this race, they really just should pave this track. Or not pave it, but cover it with dirt. As that's all we saw. That was crazy.
Yeah, that was really intense, just seeing everyone have to run on the ragged edge, kind of get out of their comfort zone a little bit, and lean up against that wall and not be afraid to go hit it. I mean, there's really no soft wall around this track at all, so it's definitely scary to run on that ragged edge, but once you find it, you're quick.
Did you have any closing thoughts while we wrap this up?
No, it's been fantastic to see the momentum swing from Daytona to Nazareth, and it'll be fun to go to an actual road course next week. Lots of action still to come this season for sure. It's ramping up.
As well, I do have to correct you. We do go to Chicagoland.
I'll get a little bit ahead of myself.
As I get to drive my personal car from my house to Chicagoland, no plane rides, nothing like that. I get to drive the hour-long drive to Joliet, Illinois at the Chicagoland Raceway, and that's going to be Chad Michael's home race. We hope you enjoyed today's coverage here on HVMP Live in Nazareth, and we hope to see you next week in Joliet in Chicagoland. But for Dylan Livingood, I am Josh Mertz. See you next week. So long, everyone.